The auction block captain Marcus Reed pushed through the crowded corridors of Station Helios, his weather jacket catching on the shoulders of smugglers and merchants. The air reeked of synthetic fuel and desperation. He had come here for routine cargo, not for the scene that made his blood run cold in the stations. Lower deck, a makeshift auction platform dominated the shadowy chamber. Dozens of beings from across the galaxy stood in chains, their eyes vacant with the hollow stare of the broken. But one figure commanded his attention completely. She stood apart from the others, silver skin gleaming under harsh lights. Her violet eyes held defiance, despite the energy shackles around her wrists. Long dark hair cascaded over shoulders that remained proud even in captivity. The auctioneer called her Hybrid Cargo, Lot 47, trained for domestic services. Marcus felt his jaw clench. In 20 years of trading across the Outer Rim, he had seen many horrors, but this crossed every line. The bidding started low. A Crillian merchant raised his forearmed gesture. A human in expensive robes countered. The hybrid's eyes swept the crowd, and for one moment they locked with his. He saw something there that made his decision instant and irreversible. 50,000 credits, Marcus called out, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. The room fell silent. The sum was astronomical for cargo. The auctioneer's mechanical voice confirmed the bid. No one countered. Sold minutes later, Marcus stood before her as the energy shackles were removed. She rubbed her wrists, never taking her eyes off him. Her voice was soft but carried an edge of steel. So human. What services do you require from your new property? Marcus pulled off his worn leather jacket and offered it to her. First, you're not property. Second, put this on. Third, we're leaving this place. She stared at the jacket as if it might explode. I don't understand, you will, Marcus said, turning toward the exit. My name is Marcus Reed. What's yours? Xena, she whispered, clutching the jacket but not yet putting it on. Well, Xena, let's get you somewhere safe. For the first time in cycles, something like hope flickered in her violet eyes. Part 2. Breaking the Chains. Docking bay hummed with activity as Marcus led Xena toward his ship. She walked a careful 3 steps behind him. The jacket draped over her shoulders, but still watching for the trap she was certain would spring. The starward bound was a modest cargo vessel, worn but well-maintained. With the kind of honest wear that spoke of countless journeys among the stars. She's not much to look at, Marcus said, patting the ship's hull, but she's fast and reliable. Xena said nothing, her eyes darting between the ship and the various escape routes available. Marcus noticed her tension and stopped at the boarding ramp. I know you don't trust me yet, he said, turning to face her fully. In your position, I wouldn't either. But I need you to understand something. You're not my slave, my property, or my anything. You're free, she laughed, but the sound held no humor. Free? You paid 50,000 credits for me? No one spends that kind of money without expecting a return. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. With deliberate movements, he deleted the ownership transfer documents from his personal datapad. There, officially, you don't exist in any registry. You're completely autonomous. Xena's eyes widened as she watched her legal chains dissolve into digital nothingness. Why would you do that? Because slavery is wrong, Marcus said simply. And because no one should be treated as cargo, regardless of their species. The ship's ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Marcus gestured toward the entrance. Come on. I'll show you to the guest quarters. You can rest, eat, and decide what you want to do next. For the first time since he had seen her. Xena's rigid posture softened slightly. She pulled his jacket tighter around herself and followed him up the ramp. The ship's interior was clean and functional. Marcus led her to a small but comfortable cabin with a real viewport looking out at the stars. This is yours for as long as you need it, he said. Door locks from the inside. No surveillance. Complete privacy. Xena sat on the edge of the narrow bed, still processing his words. And what do you get out of this? Marcus paused in the doorway. Maybe the chance to sleep better at night. knowing I did something right for once. As the door sealed behind him, Xena finally allowed herself to believe that, perhaps, for the first time in her life, she might actually be safe. Hunted across the stars 3 days into their journey, the alarms began to scream. Marcus rushed to the bridge where Xena was already studying the scanner displays, her silver skin pale with worry. 2 ships fast pursuit class, she reported with military precision. They've been tracking us since we left Helios Station. Marcus's hands flew over the controls, bringing up tactical displays. Bounty hunters. Someone wants you back badly enough to hire professionals. The ship shuddered as energy bolts struck their shields. Xena gripped the console, her violet eyes blazing with fierce determination. They're not taking me back alive. They're not taking you back at all, Marcus said, pushing the engines to maximum burn for the next 6 hours. They played a deadly game of cat and mouse through an asteroid field. Xena proved to have an intuitive understanding of ship systems, anticipating Marcus's needs and working alongside him with perfect synchronization. During a brief respite behind a massive space rock, Marcus found himself studying her profile as she monitored communications. You're not just any hybrid, are you? Xena was quiet for a long moment. My mother was of the Astri bloodline, the last ruling house of the Centauri Reach. My father was human, a diplomat who tried to save her during the purges. The Astari were supposed to be extinct. All but me, she said softly. That's why they want me back. My bloodline carries genetic memories, psychic abilities that could be weaponized. Marcus reached over and covered her hand with his. The touch sent an electric shock through both of them. I won't let them take you. Their eyes met and held. In that moment, something shifted between them, deeper than trust, warmer than friendship. Xena's free hand came up to touch his face gently. Why are you risking your life for me? Before Marcus could answer, the asteroid exploded around them. The hunters had found their hiding place. As Marcus threw the ship into evasive maneuvers, he caught Xena's hand again. Because some things are worth fighting for. The ship rocketed toward the next star system, carrying them both toward an uncertain future. But together, the heart's discovery, the hidden world of Nethys, appeared like an emerald jewel against the cosmic void. Ancient cities carved into cliff faces sparkled with bioluminescent light. Marcus guided the damaged starward bound to a landing platform where robed figures waited to greet them. Elderkoth, a being of immense age and wisdom, welcomed them with ceremonial kindness. His people, the Keepers, had guarded refugees for millennia. But even here, danger followed. That night, assassins struck the guest quarters where Marcus and Xena slept in separate rooms. Marcus heard the commotion and burst through the connecting door to find 3 masked figures advancing on Xena with energy blades. Get away from her, he roared, throwing himself between them and their target. The fight was brief and brutal. Marcus took a plasma burn to his shoulder, protecting Xena, but together they drove off the attackers. As the last assassin fled, Marcus collapsed, his shirt soaked with blood. Marcus. Xena caught him as he fell, her hands glowing with soft silver light as ancient healing abilities awakened within her. Stay with me. She carried him to his bed with surprising strength, her touch already beginning to heal his wound. As her hands moved over his chest, removing his torn shirt to treat the injury, the air between them charged with something more than her healing energy. The pain is fading, Marcus whispered. His eyes locked on hers. I can do more than heal, she murmured, her face close to his. I can take away all the hurt. Their lips met in a kiss that was tender and desperate, full of all the words they hadn't spoken. Marcus's hands tangled in her dark hair as she pressed closer, her silver skin warm against his. Xena, he breathed against her throat. Are you sure? I've never been more certain of anything, she replied, her violet eyes shining with love and desire. You freed me from chains, but you also freed my heart. They made love slowly, gently, with the profound intimacy of 2 souls who had found their home in each other. Under the alien stars of Nethys, surrounded by ancient protectors, they discovered that love could bloom even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Later, as Xena lay curled against his chest, Marcus held her close and made a silent vow. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Love conquers all. The final confrontation came at dawn. Admiral Cross's fleet had arrived at Nethys, but not as enemies. The Elder Koth had sent word across the galaxy about Xena's true identity, and the human coalition had come to protect one of their own. Captain Reed, Admiral Cross said via com. We're here to offer sanctuary to you both and any other survivors of the Astery purges. But the slavers came too. In greater numbers than anyone expected, their massive dreadnought blocked out the sun as it descended toward the planets. Surface Marcus stood with Xena on the ancient temple steps, her hand tight in his. Whatever happens, I love you, he said. And I love you, she replied, her eyes beginning to glow with silver fire. More than all the stars in the sky, the battle was fierce. Human ships engaged the slavers in orbit, while ground forces fought in the ancient city. But the tide turned when Xena stepped forward, her full powers finally awakening. Psychic energy flowed from her like liquid starlight, disabling the slaver weapons and freeing the minds of their enslaved crews. I am Xena of the Astery. Her voice echoed across the battlefield. And I claim the freedom of all sentient beings under the ancient laws. The slaver dreadnought, its crew liberated from mental conditioning, turned its guns on the remaining enemy ships. The battle was over. Months later, Marcus and Xena stood together on the bridge of a new ship, the Freedom Star, watching as they approached a pristine world where Astery survivors could build a new home. Regrets? Xena asked, leaning into his embrace. Only that I waited so long to tell you I love you, Marcus said. Pressing a kiss to her silver forehead, she turned in his arms, her violet eyes sparkling with mischief and deep affection. Well, you have the rest of our lives to make up for it. I plan to, he said, sealing the promise with a kiss. Around them stars wheeled in their ancient dance, witnesses to a love that had conquered slavery, overcome impossible odds, and proved that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe was simply one heart recognizing another. In the vast expanse of space, Marcus and Xena had found their home in each other. And together, they would build a future where freedom and love could flourish among the stars. Forever among the stars, 5 years later, the Freedom Star drifted peacefully in orbit around New Astery, the thriving colony world that had become a beacon of hope for refugees across the galaxy. In the captain's quarters, Marcus watched through the viewport as silver-skinned children played in the gardens below, their laughter carrying the promise of a brighter future. Xena entered quietly, carrying their newborn daughter, whose skin shimmered with the same ethereal silver as her mother's, but whose eyes held the warm brown of her father's heritage. She's perfect, Marcus whispered, gently taking the baby into his arms. Just like her father, Xena said softly, settling beside him on their shared bed. I never dreamed that day on Station Helios would lead to this. Marcus looked at his wife, his partner, his love, still amazed that she had chosen him out of all the stars in the sky. You taught me something, you know? What's that? That love isn't about ownership or possession. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose, to stay, to build something beautiful together. Xena's violet eyes sparkled with tears of joy as she watched their daughter grasp Marcus's finger with tiny, perfect hands. And you taught me that humans truly are remarkable. You saw a person when the galaxy saw only property. You chose compassion when others chose profit. Outside their window, the human fleet continued its patrols, protecting not just New Astery, but dozens of worlds where the freed and forgotten had found new homes. The slave trade that had once terrorized the Outer Rim was nothing but a dark memory, broken by human determination and the power of love. What do we name her? Marcus asked, his voice filled with wonder at the tiny life they had created together. Hope, Xena said, without hesitation, because that's what you gave me, what we've built together, and what she represents for our future, as their daughter slept peacefully in her father's arms. Marcus and Xena held each other close, their love having grown from a desperate escape to the foundation of a new world. Among the infinite stars, they had proved that sometimes the greatest victories came not from conquest or power, but from one simple act of kindness that grew into something magnificent. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but here, in their small corner of forever, they had everything they needed: each other, their child, and the knowledge that love truly could conquer all.